So anyways, there was another video I had in mind that I didn't advertise for because I thought it would be fun to surprise. If I remember correctly, I think this video just came out. Yes, okay, yes, it did come out. Yes, so, Little Somebody, Critical Drinker, Why Modern Movies Suck. They're too expensive. I will agree, it seems like budgets for movies are blowing up quite massively. I don't know if that's why they suck, or even, I don't even know, do modern movies suck? I think there's good and bad movies anymore. Just like there's always been good and bad movies. So, the whole argument, well, why modern movies suck? You're just going after new shit, because it's easy target.
Now, you don't need me to tell you that modern Hollywood has got itself some problems. Whether it's ongoing strike action, declining artistic creativity, an over-reliance on remakes and tired genres that are past their peak, or a general aversion to doing anything particularly new or...
So, just gonna point out, the middle of this thumbnail is Miles Morales from Across the Spider-Verse, which was a great movie.
Inventive. And to be fair, I've covered a lot of these problems in previous installments of this series, but one of the biggest overriding factors in all of this is a financial one. Put simply, movies are too damn expensive these days.
Well, I think it's worth noting, it's not so much, you can actually, with resources the way they are, you can make a movie cheaper than ever before. You absolutely can. Now, the big budget comic book movies are going to be expensive, though, because you're going to get big name actors. You need a whole bunch of big name actors anymore to get into the movies. You're going to need lots of CGI, and honestly, they're probably overpaying the CGI companies and underpaying the workers. Somebody's getting fucked somewhere in the CGI companies, because those workers are getting screwed over, as we brought up earlier in the episode. Yeah.
The production budgets for mainstream Hollywood films have been steadily rising since the 1990s, but
Well, I mean, there's inflation too, so the budget of all movies have been going up. But yes.
The process has accelerated out of control over the past few years. In fact, out of the 100 most expensive movies ever released, 66 of them were made in the past 10 years.
Yes, that's just inflation, bro. Yes, movies are getting more expensive, I'll give you that. But that statistic you just cited is purely because of inflation. That's a terrible fucking resource, bro.
But Drinker, you intoxicated bastion of common sense in a world gone mad, I hear you say. Why is this a bad thing? If studios want to spend more money on their films, why not let them get on with it? Well, the thing is, this kind of approach to filmmaking creates problems. The kind of problems that cause a ripple effect through the entire industry, ultimately undermining the quality of the films that we...
Okay, we'll see what his point is. But typically, when a studio spends a lot of money on a movie, it means lots of studio oversight, which means they will be tinkering and having their hands in a lot of the creative aspects, which may result in a shittier movie. But let's see what Critical Drinker's take is.
We get to watch. The first and most obvious of these problems is an economic one. As I explained during my Indiana Jones video, once you factor in promotional costs and distributors' fees, the average movie needs to make about 3 times its production budget just to break even.
Whoa, where are you getting that? 3 times its production budget to break even? No way. You're just pulling random numbers out of your ass right now. 3 times its production budget. No, they would never ever make a $300 million movie if it needs to make 3 times its production budget to make its money back. There's no way, dude. Are you going to... Of course, you're not going to fucking cite anything. 3 times its production budget? The guideline before was 2 times its production budget. However, I would argue for companies like Disney, it's probably less than that because they have free publicity. They can do ads on Disney Plus. They can do ads on ABC because guess what? Disney owns the ABC network. Disney owns Disney Plus. Disney owns Hulu. They can do ads for all their stuff on those services for fucking free because they fucking own them. Yeah, so you could argue that's a problem. I would argue that's a problem because now that they can just put shit, they can just advertise because they have such a big hand in everything. They can advertise pretty much for free. That means maybe they're getting a bit too fucking powerful, But they can't. So that means I would argue a Disney movie probably needs less a production budget than your average movie. But even worst case scenario, absolute worst case scenario, it would be 2 times the production budget. 2 times. And that's worst case. I'm betting you it's a lot less than that. Because no movie's going to make its budget back. If it spends $300 million, it needs 3 times its production budget back. I would love to know your source on that number.
That's hard enough even for relatively small movies, but it becomes infinitely more difficult for films at the top end of the scale. Because if your movie happens to be one of the growing number that costs more than $300 million to make, then you're looking at close to $1 billion just to start turning a profit. Even now, there's not many.
Yes, which is why your number you decided is complete bullshit, because nobody's going to make a movie depending on making $1 billion unless it's Avengers or fucking Avatar. That's it. There's no way in hell they're counting on any movie to make over $1 billion unless it's like maybe one of those 2. That's it, man.
Many films capable of reaching that milestone. Which brings me along to another problem, the cost of failure. See, the financial losses incurred by the studio begin to rise exponentially as the budget goes up.
But the good news is, when you have something like Avatar way overproduced, then all of a sudden it can cover a lot of the failures, so it doesn't really matter to the big studios in the end.
$50 million flop is embarrassing to be sure, but a $300 million flop is absolutely disastrous.
Dude, like, Avatar Way of Water, let's look up the numbers. So let's use your numbers. So 300 million flop. Let me bring this up. 300 million. You won't be able to see the calculator because I don't have it set up. Let me type it in. So Avatar Way of Water, we were just looking at the number. It made 2.2 billion. 2.2. Now let's use your bullshit number and assume it need $1 billion to break even, which is fucking stupid. That means right there it can cover 4 $300 million flops. Now, how many $300 million flops has Disney released this year? I'm having trouble thinking of any. But yeah, let's see.
And the inevitable result of massive amounts of money being at stake is that studios tend to seek out safety, predictability, and proven track records.
True. Okay, that's what I was just saying before. So, we're going to sprinkle in some facts, but let's see what other bullshit he's going to throw in.
Rather than taking a risk on smaller, riskier, and more diverse projects, they tend to blow their load on whatever's popular right now. And up until recently, that meant...
Well, listen, they might still pay for the smaller stuff, but they're not going to put $300 million in for the smaller stuff. You want a $300 million movie, it's probably going to be Marvel or Avatar, and that's about it. So if James Cameron isn't directing it, doesn't have the Marvel name on it, it's not going to get that budget.
Either big budget effects heavy superhero flicks, big budget effects heavy resurrections of old franchises, or big budget effects heavy remakes of classic films from previous decades. Spot the common factor here? There seems to be a real mentality in Hollywood now that bigger and louder somehow equals better, and the result is an endless competition to produce the most visually stunning pieces of cinema possible. But the problem is that the more you focus on...
What I am noticing is that you're, like, using cam footage. Why is this stuff like... That's the original Wonder Woman. We got, like, Zack Snyder's Justice League. We have... Why... Like, okay. Like, if you had to use a cam footage for Little Mermaid, that's fine. But a lot... Like, what... Why does this look like shit?
Not possible. But the problem...
That's Man of Steel. That came out in, like... 2013. You don't need to do cam footage for that. What are you doing?
Is that the more you focus on the visuals of your film, the more you tend to neglect everything else around it. These days, there's an over-reliance on spectacle.
He wants to talk about how stuff looks too visually beautiful, and then, like, he's doing shitty versions in his edit? Like, what?
On scale to draw audiences in, and it ends up becoming a crutch for bad writing and lack of creativity. I mean, you can't honestly tell me that you were gripped by Avatar 2's compelling and complex storyline. Jesus.
Avatar 2 was pretty good. It surprised me, because Avatar 1, I enjoyed it initially, but, like, it hasn't, like, aged great for me. Avatar 2, I thought, like, really did a good job bringing it back into the world, and they did kind of a remake of the story, but, like, they did a really good job of it, and they, like, I did wasn't expecting to like the new characters as much as I did. But they did a great job with the new characters. Avatar 2 was a damn good movie, man.
Jesus, if you can even remember a single thing that actually happened in that movie, I'll be impressed. What you end up with instead are a series of beautiful but ultimately empty and meaningless tech demos that keep you momentarily distracted but offer no long-term impact or emotional payoff.
So, like, his clips recently are Infinity War, Endgame, and Black Panther. So you're arguing you don't like any of those movies? You don't like Civil War either? Because this is from Civil War.
They stimulate your eyes but not your brain, and the more it
So shitty on Ragnarok as well? Shitty on Infinity War?
happens, the more audiences start to become jaded and disinterested in what...
So what, you just don't like comic book movies? Like, okay, like, I'm just judging based on your edit right now. Your edit is telling me you don't like comic book movies. So if you don't like comic book movies, then don't watch them?
Hollywood has to offer. Another big problem with so much money at stake is studio interference. I've lost track of the number of films that have been derailed and ruined because the studio started to get jittery about the filmmaker's creative vision and...
Okay, so... This is Doom Patrol. Doom Patrol's not a movie, dude. Doom Patrol's a TV series, a streaming series specifically. But anyways... So what you're talking about, where that's been a big issue, really, where I've noticed it, is with WB. Warner Brothers has been doing that a lot with DC, and that's been a problem. That's where you end up with theatrical cut of Justice League. I would honestly think, I honestly would like to see a Zack Snyder cut of Justice League that's like fucking half hour to an hour shorter, because it was way too long. But yeah, Warner Brothers has been tinkering with their movies for years, and they keep on changing course, which is driving me nuts. I kind of want to see the James Gunn DC universe, and my biggest fear right now is that DC is going to just flip out because the DC movies aren't doing great and cancel the whole thing, or just give it off to somebody else or something and just derail the whole thing. Because their whole thing with the DC movies has been so goddamn reactionary. Like, Man of Steel came out, and then it came out a year after Avengers, and they're like, okay, we're going to build a DC universe based on Man of Steel. I get it. Go for it. Cool. But then, like, they're like, we're going to hand the reins to Zack Snyder. It's like, Zack Snyder's not your story guy. He's your, like, make things look pretty on-screen guy. He's not a story guy. But then we end up with Batman v Superman. We end up with fucking Martha. And it's not great. And not shockingly, the fans weren't thrilled with it. Which, yeah, big shock there. And so the studio got reactive again. And they got Joss Whedon to take over Justice League, which is already in post-production, and do reshoots. And boy, oh boy, mixing the styles of Joss Whedon and Zack Snyder goes as well as you'd expect, and we end up with the theatrical cut of Justice League, which is a shit show all in itself. And ever since then, DC has been so goddamn reactive with these goddamn superhero movies. It's been ridiculous. I just wanted to stay the course with this James Gunn shit. Because I'd like to see what he does.
Decided to stick their oar in with endless test screenings, last-minute rewrites, and
Taki's asking, do you think that was a mistake for WB to trust their universe keys to Snyder 10 years ago? Yes. I actually thought that at the time, too. Because I actually liked Zack Snyder more back then than I do now. I'm kind of burnt out on him at this point. But I was a fan of Zack Snyder, and even I'm looking at his resume of work and going, this is not your story guy. This is not the guy you want in charge of a comic book cinematic universe at all. And I feel like that's kind of paid off over time.
mandatory reshoots to produce something more commercially viable. Again, it's a nice idea in theory, but the problem is that studio executives aren't storytellers, they're money men, and the decisions they make tend to be driven by whatever they think will generate the most money. Narrative cohesion and...
Yes. Studio heads only care about making money. Thank you! Thank you, Critical Drinker, for finally making the point that we've been making for a while. Studio heads don't care about fucking woke politics or the message. They care about making fucking money.
Creative integrity don't tend to factor into their thinking because all that really matters is keeping the shareholders happy. Not only do rewrites and reshoots undermine a filmmaker's creative vision, but they...
It depends. Filmmakers might do reshoots and rewrites. reshooting and rewriting in and of itself may not actually be a bad thing. There's plenty of times where they shoot stuff and they're like, oh shit, we don't have the coverage we need, so we need to shoot it to fix that. Or they might be trying to put together a scene and they realize in the edit that, oh wow, this really doesn't work. We need to adjust the scene so like we can get better special effects or, you know, get better angles and stuff like that. Rewrites and reshoots are not inherently bad, and they're pretty much required on any big budget movie, because anything with that much money behind it, they're going to want to do what they can to tweak it as much as possible to try to make it as accessible as possible.
They also pushed the film's production budget even higher.
Absolutely right, Whitney. DC need a Kevin Feige, and I'm hoping James Gunn can be that Kevin Feige.
Making it even more difficult to turn up profits. So
I think it's even worth noting, Kevin Feige is not even somebody I would consider a story guy, but he definitely knows comic books, and he definitely had like a rough outline for what he wanted the movies to do, and kind of understood enough to give the creators enough space to do their thing, while giving them guideposts on how to handle it. Kevin Feige has essentially proven himself to be a fantastic producer.
So what do you do when movies cost a shit ton of money to make and your confidence in new projects is at an all-time low? Well, you resurrect dusty old franchises with inbuilt fan bases and strong name recognition and hope that it'll somehow translate into financial success.
Well, I mean, you're looking at Star Trek 2009, which did translate into a financial success. It was also, like, it was a pretty damn good reboot. They did a good job with that. I'm kind of disappointed they never did a fourth one.
Why do you think we've seen so many new Star Trek?
We have 3 Star Trek movies. Are you talking about the series, though? Because you just showed the 3 movies. We also have the series, which I guess you could argue that whole series, the new Trek, is kind of like a soft reboot in the same way that TNG is a soft reboot. And that it's in the same universe as all the other Star Trek. It just kind of like for a new generation. Similar thing with the sequel trilogy for Star Wars.
Star Wars, Terminator, Indiana Jones, and Ghostbusters movies in recent years. Not to mention Disney's endless...
I mean, if you want to argue there's too many franchise movies coming out, sure. For me, at the end of the day, I just want them to be good. And like Star Trek, I think has been pretty good. Star Wars has been hit and miss. Mostly, I've been on board. Andor was great. The Disney live action remakes mostly suck. I think Pinocchio might have been straight to streaming. I did not see that. Beauty and the Beast sucked. Mulan was atrocious. Aladdin was actually fine, but I've never revisited it. So I guess that tells you what's like its staying power. And like I said, Little Mermaid, I didn't like it. I'm not the target audience. Halle Bailey was great.
Cannibalization of their classic animated films. It's because all of those things have been big hits at some point in the past.
Yes. When the live action remakes are successful, they will keep on making them.
And so logically, if you can shit out a lazy cash grab remake or unnecessary sequel, then it'll be equally successful, right?
I mean, some of those examples, like when he's talking about a shitty cash grab sequel, and he's cutting
cannibalization of their classic animated films. It's because all of those things have been big hits at some point.
So this looks like it's probably Prey, which is an excellent movie.
In the past.
It's an example of how to do that properly.
And so logically, if you can shit out...
Okay, Back to the Future, not remade. Avatar, not remade.
A lazy cash grab remake.
Avengers. I mean, they'll probably do some sort of new Avengers in the future, but no, not remade.
Make or unnecessary.
Is this Bridesmaids? Like, the fuck clip is this? Seriously, what is this?
Sequel, then it'll be equally successful.
I didn't know that clip.
Successful, right?
Okay, well, James Bond, No Time to Die was great.
Right.
Like, Daniel Craig, in my opinion, had some of the best Bond movies and one of the worst. Like, Quantum of Solace was egregiously bad. But, like, Casino Royale and Skyfall are phenomenal. It's 2 of the best Bond movies, possibly the 2 best Bond movies. No Time to Die, is not as good as those 2, but it's still really good. Spectre was a weird one. Because elements of it worked fantastically and elements didn't. So it was weird.
Wrong.
And as far as... Actually, this is Commando, isn't it? It's a weird thing to call back to. But the Terminator franchises mostly sucked. You got Terminator and Terminator 2, and that's about it. They keep on trying to bring it back, and it's never quite working. And I kind of feel they should just bury it at this point.
The top 10 movies so far this year, 7 of them are either sequels or...
Yes. So franchise filmmaking is the big deal right now. And Mission Impossible 7, which is one that you guys seem to love, is definitely in that group. And it's worth noting, these are all franchises. Like, these are either sequels or franchises. Super Mario Brothers and Barbie, the top 2, not part of a film franchise, but absolutely franchise movies. Super Mario Brothers has its own franchise, just not really in movies, and same with Barbie.
Or remakes of older films. And the thing is, it didn't always used to be this way. Go back in time 20 years and the biggest films of 2003 were Return of the King, Pirates of the Caribbean, Finding Nemo, and Bruce Almighty.
Okay, but Lord of the Rings, number one, Return of the King was part of a franchise. It was the third movie in the franchise. Let's see. So Bruce Almighty did spawn a franchise, but it wasn't very successful. Pirates of the Caribbean definitely spawned a franchise. That was part of it as well.
Pirates of the Caribbean, Finding
Nemo had Finding Dory, pseudo-franchise.
Nemo and Bruce Almighty. Jump back 30 years and Jurassic Park, The Fugitive.
Yes, Jurassic Park, famously a movie that didn't start a franchise. I always thought Commando was a comedy. That's a good point, David, because that's the best way to enjoy Commando. Like, you can have fun with Commando if you treat it like comedy. It's like Roadhouse, essentially. Fugitive had a sequel as well, it's worth noting. It wasn't nearly as good. It's called U.S. Marshals, but yeah, it had a sequel.
Fugitive, The Firm, Sleep.
Was The Firm that big? I don't remember. Well, that's the thing. There was never, a Firm franchise, but once that movie was... I guess that movie probably was successful because after that, there was this wave of John Grisham-based movies. So technically not a franchise, but kind of is. And then Sleepless in Seattle kind of spawned the Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan starring together in rom-coms phase as well. So, we're still seeing it. It's just different phases.
Sleepless in Seattle and Mrs. Doubtfire ruled the box office.
Mrs. Doubtfire, a famous rated X movie because it featured a man in drag.
I mean, I know which movies I find more worthy of my time. There's also a rather predictable tendency to follow the crowd at the top levels of Hollywood, leeching off winning formulas to...
Why does he keep on cutting to clips of fucking Doom Patrol? That's not a Hollywood movie, that's a streaming series.
Replicate the successes of others rather than taking the risk of inventing your own. I know it's become popular to shit on the MCU nowadays, but in it...
Which is part of what you've been doing in this video, but sure.
Its prime, it absolutely changed the landscape of modern blockbuster movies to the...
True, because now everybody wants to do a franchise movie as big as the MCU. I've noticed attempts on this have calmed down because, they've all failed. Even ones that still succeed. Like DC, they're going to try one more time. Hopefully they pull it off, because DC has no reason not to pull it off. The one that I thought should have pulled it off as well was the Universal Monster Universe. It looks like I'm picking Chris Evans' nose. But the Universal Monster Universe really should have been successful as well, but they fucked that up by trying to make it a superhero franchise. They really did. That should have been kind of a horror franchise. Those should have been horror movies. And then, you can do the crossover. Maybe even do a Monster Squad style crossover with monsters working together and some not. But that should have worked. But instead they decided to make the monsters superheroes. And that awful fucking Tom Cruise movie. Fucking awful.
The point where almost everyone adopted the exact...
And they're not giving up on it because Geek over here, Geek Prime, is bringing up a good point because they are talking about doing a Barbie cinematic universe right now, which sounds awful to me. That's the problem with Barbie's success, because Barbie is... The good thing about Barbie is, number one, it was just a good movie, so I'm happy to see it do well, but also... it's going to inspire these studios to try to do sequels and stuff, and I don't know how you do a sequel off the Barbie movie. I don't. What do you follow up with? It's Barbie. I'm impressed you got that good of a movie out of it.
exact same style and tone. Serious, mature, and thought-provoking storytelling was out, and snarky, ironic, self-deprecating humour was in. How many movies over the past 10 years can you think of where characters stop every couple of minutes to make another lame attempt at a Joss Whedon joke? It's because everyone wanted their movie to be the next Avengers. The result of
True.
all these different factors is a kind of creative inertia, a feeling of bland, depressing sameness. You get the sense that most big budget movies nowadays all rolled off the
Well, too bad indie movies and smaller budget movies don't exist. Too bad the only movies ever going through creation right now are the big budget blockbusters, right? Maybe, watch other movies, dude.
same assembly line, composed of the same basic ingredients with only minor alterations. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that we seem to have reached the maximum upward limit of how big and expensive movies can possibly be, beyond which it becomes impossible to even turn a profit. And maybe it might be time for studios to start backing down a little, stop risking everything on one mega project that has to appeal to as many people as possible, and start investing their money in a more diverse range of smaller,
So, he supports diversity? Is that what I'm hearing? He supports diversity? He's pro-diversity? Cool.
cheaper, creatively ambitious films with a lower bar for success. Projects where the filmmakers actually get the creative freedom they need to bring their visions to life without constant interference, where they can afford to take risks and try out new ideas without the fear that one single failure could bring down the entire studio.
Dude, what one single failure is going to bring down the studio, dude? You're talking, give me an example where a single failure has brought down a big studio. That doesn't fucking happen. You might have noticed.
And to be honest, I think we could all benefit from a bit more variety in our summer movie season. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
Well, he had maybe 2 points in there that I agreed with him on. So, I guess he's doing better than average. But overall, cringy drinker video. Not as bad as usual, but still pretty bad. Yay, drinker.
Books, records, films, these things matter. Call me shallow. It's the fucking truth.